95% of what I play is using this kind of close voice leading. And what that basically means is that, let's say I'm on a C chord, and I know I want to get to an A minor. I'll find the closest place to connect the two chords. So in this case, I only have to change one note to make the transition. So as I'm playing along, then if I want to get to an F chord, I simply move one note again. I'm always looking for this kind of voice leading when I'm playing to keep the music smooth. Even if I'm playing something with a melody, and the melody stretches out in the right hand, I'll usually find a chord that fits below it, like So notice that I'm playing the melody, often with my top finger, and positioning the chord underneath. Here's another example. So no matter how fancy or simple I get, this concept of keeping the chords in close proximity remains throughout. And I find in most music that really is the case. So I'd like to actually show you an exercise that will help you to get started, to put the chords together and find the chords in the different inversions. This exercise starts on a C chord. And what we're going to do is we're going to play a major chord, and then we're going to play a minor chord. First the C chord, and then it's going to go to the relative minor, which in the key of C, A minor is the relative minor. So I find the closest place to connect the chords. And in every case in this exercise, it'll just be a question of moving one note. So you play the C, then you go to the relative minor, which is A minor. And then we're going to go down a major third in the left hand from A to F and go to an F chord. So there's one move. And now we're going to go to the relative minor of F major, which is D minor, by moving down a minor third here. And then this is the cycle. Skipping it down to the octave. And finally it brings you back to C. So it takes you through every one of the major and minor chords. And then after you do that, we'll start the whole exercise from the first position of C, the first inversion. So instead of C, E, G, started on E, G, C. So the second chord will be A minor, but now the first finger to move is the middle finger. We should also note that when you're on the C chord and you move to the A, the voice that's going to change in the right hand is the finger that's going to move to the actual A. So when we go to the F, the one that changes is the E to F. So there's all kinds of interesting little patterns within this pattern to get you going. Now, the next thing I'd like to point out is it's always important to be making music when you're playing any exercise. As a matter of fact, whenever you approach a musical instrument, you should approach it with the idea that, okay, whether it's a technical exercise, a harmonic exercise, now I'm going to make some music. So what can you do with this exercise? For instance, you can treat it like it's an accompaniment pattern. So how would you play an accompaniment pattern? There's a lot of different ways. If you're just playing a song in back of a singer, or like a Beatles song, or an Elton John song, or anything like that, you're going to want to approach it in a couple of different ways. Here's some examples. Okay, that's one way you could play an accompaniment pattern. But what about this? Or this? Or even this? Or so there's unlimited ways to play a pattern just with using this simple chord. And that's what I'd like to stress with any music that you're going to make, is when you're playing my exercises especially, try to make music. Pick a pattern and hold that pattern for a couple chords. Or play that pattern through the whole exercise and then pick the other pattern. And play that cycle through the whole progression. But be creative and always try to think, how can I achieve something else? How can I stretch this a little bit? And try to keep a click going too, because that'll keep you kind of forced to think quickly and train your mind. Get a click that you can, start with and actually do the exercise. And then as you get better at it, you can make the click a little faster. So you'll be flying through it and really jamming. Now I'd like to talk a little bit about the way that I developed my skill with chords. When I was very young, I guess the first chords that I learned are these major and minor chords, and kind of found them in all the different inversions. But as I was growing older and hearing different kinds of music, what happened was that I would hear a particular kind of chord. Like I remember when I first heard a major chord over like an altered bass. For instance, something like this, where you have the 5 chord, I'm playing an F, but I've got a C chord on top. Okay, so like here's a B flat chord with an E flat bass. And there's all kinds of ways you can do it. You can play the 5 over the 1, you can play the 2 over the 1, the 4, this is the 4, the 7. On my website, you'll be able to find examples of different patterns that will make use of this kind of altered bass thing. But here's a little improvisation using this concept. I'll just start a drum track so we can have a good time here. Another chord that I discovered is the sus chord. That's where you take like a C, you take the 4th and the 5th. I discovered this when listening to Tarkus, E.L.P. Tarkus. Of course, Keith Emerson is very big on sus chords. But same thing. Discover the chord, find it in different positions. And in different inversions. And once you find it, actually try to write a piece. Try to do an improvisation. Here's an improvisation that I'll do that uses sus chords. One, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4.